Bow hunting whitetail deer. That's right, deer hunting with a bow. In this series, I'm going to tell you all of the stories of how I got all of these bucks. I'm going to call it Antler Stories. So I hope you'll stay tuned and watch this entire series to find out the story of how I got all these bucks. Okay, in this very first video in my series called Antler Stories, I'm going to share with you the very first buck I ever harvested. I was 17 years old. It took me 4 years to get my first deer. Obviously, I don't have any video footage. I just have some old pictures of the deer. So I'm going to tell you the strategy that I used to get this deer. To start off with, I want to show you the layout of the hunting situation. Okay, this was an area where there was a patch of woods that had housing way off on the other end of it. We had a soybean field here, tree line, soybean field, and then there was probably some overgrown field not being farmed down over this side. So in the larger patch of woods, it ended over on this side, and this was the parking area. So what we did, I actually found the spot and took my dad there. We scouted out, there was some major trails coming into the bean field here, and I watched from about mid-field a couple nice bucks come out into the field, maybe half hour before dark, leading up to the season. We had some other hunters move in on us at the last minute, so I had a tree stand set up back in the woods off these main trails. I could catch them if they were coming here, or if they decided to go over to this bean field, I could get them. But these other hunters were coming in the woods all times of, like, as it was getting daylight. You know, they're clanging through the woods with tree stands. It really just ruined this spot for me, and the deer stopped coming here immediately before daylight. They would come out to the fields after dark. So I had to change my plan, and my dad was set up back over here in his tree stand, and he got a shot at an 8-pointer that had another buck with him a few days into the season, and we didn't end up finding the buck. So then after a while, I moved to the other back end of the woods, had an encounter with a buck, didn't get a shot, and then I decided to move over to about here. So my dad's stand was there. I was about 75 yards away from him, set up on the ground. And again, I was just anxious to get a deer at this point, and I was hoping to catch him, back in the woods farther before they get to the bean field. So the point is, if the deer start getting some pressure, they're not going to get into their primary food source till after dark a lot of times. So you got to get back farther in the woods. What ended up happening was my dad was here, I was there. I don't actually even know what the wind direction was. It was a very calm evening, but there might have been a faint breeze. I just didn't pay any attention to it at that point in time. But the deer that I ended up harvesting came running from over here, and he cut up in, and he went right on a broadside angle and stopped right here. And he looked down this way. He might have caught a whiff of my dad. I don't really even know. I got my shot. The deer ran over here and died probably about maybe 30 yards from me. And I actually wrote this story in my book, Becoming a World-Class Hunter. Now, when we tracked the deer, I wasn't sure if we were going to find it, because the blood trail ended right here, and then the deer went a little bit and died right here. And when I walked up to it, all I saw was the 3 points on the one side. I'm like, okay, cool, an 8-pointer. And then I picked up the rack, and I saw on the other side was just a big fork. So he's a 5-pointer, no brow tines. I was still very excited to finally get my first deer. That is the story, though, of how I got my first buck ever at the age of 17 after 4 years of trying, and it took me a while. The point is, key to this hunt was changing your setup after hunting pressure kicks in. A lot of the deer are not going to hit those primary food sources until well after dark, so you got to move back in the woods and hope to get set up on them. And I do think being set up where I was in relation to my dad actually helped me, because I think the deer may even have got a whiff of my dad over here. Like if the wind was going this way, got a whiff of him, so he was circling up this way, thinking he was staying downwind of the danger, not realizing there was some other danger just on the other side of that downwind side he was headed to. So that's another strategy. Set up in proximity to your other hunting buddies within 100 yards sometimes, and maybe the deer will skirt around your friend if they catch a whiff of them, and it'll be just on the inside of you where you're going to get your shot. I'm Sean McVeigh, Sean's Outdoor Adventures. Thank you for tuning into this. I hope you'll watch the whole series because a lot of these videos have actual hunting footage when we get to that point. Until then, take care and God bless you.